Okay, so we are recording now. Thank you again to everyone who's joining us. I'm so glad you're here, and for anyone who might be watching this recording later. So to get us started, I'm going to be talking with my co-host Carlitos about the benefits of choosing a homestay. So just a quick intro, my name is Caroline. I'm the USAC University Relations Coordinator for the North and Central West. I work a lot with US University Study Abroad offices, but if you're a student, you're also welcome to reach out to me. Would you mind introducing yourself really quick, Carlos?
Claro. Hello, everybody. My name is Carlitos Oviedo, but everybody calls me Carlitos. I'm the Resident Director for the Heredia, Costa Rica program. Bienvenidos.
Awesome. So for today's session, little agenda, we're going to talk briefly about USAC, as well as just what is even a homestay, what does that mean, especially what is a homestay with USAC. And then, of course, we want to talk about all those amazing benefits, as well as some just like general tips and advice so that you can make the most out of your homestay if you choose that option. And then we're going to end on those USAC resources and next steps you can take. Like I said at the intro, please feel free to interrupt with questions. So I know we have some folks checking the chat, so feel free to put those in there, something along those lines. So again, just starting off, USAC, if you don't know, that stands for University Studies Abroad Consortium. So a little bit of an overview. So we're a nonprofit that partners with American universities and universities abroad to offer incredible study abroad programming. So a lot of you probably are familiar with the left side of the slide about all those great benefits. So, you can build hard and soft skills while you go abroad. It's a great chance to live abroad before you have your career, or maybe get abroad experience in an internship or whatever it might be. Definitely a huge resume booster. And you develop this really amazing international network of people. But in terms of what USAC specifically offers, we do offer really academically rigorous and quality programs that can keep you on track for graduation. We're also really known and very proud of our affordability, and we offer so many different scholarships. We currently have around 50 different program locations in a lot of unique parts of the world and parts of the world you probably have heard of as well. We offer all kinds of support from that pre-departure phase and visa logistics to health and safety on site, all kinds of levels of support. Like I mentioned earlier, with our particular programs, we offer experiential learning opportunities. So this could look like volunteering, service learning, internships, research, a variety of options and field trips and field studies. And again, we've been doing this since 1982. So in terms of actually picking your program, there's so many different considerations. Let me go back there. So of course, the academic component is a good place to start, figure out what you need/want to study, what kind of model works for you, when you want to go. But cost can also be another big factor. So in terms of homestay, even something people don't consider is in some cases, homestay could actually be less expensive because you can have meals included, access to laundry. You're not paying for utilities separately or things like that. So we can definitely get more into that later. Of course, location, whatever language or whatever location you would like to go to. But again, today our focus is going to be more on the housing options while we showcase the benefits of homestays. So just to give you a quick little overview, we have two different types of program models. Happy to answer questions about those, but just to highlight, so the locations in green are where we currently have homestay options available. So just to note that we have these in all sorts of locations around the world. Particularly, we have, of course, you see up here in South America, Europe. And then on this next slide, you can see we also have our partnership programs with homestays available in these locations. So again, happy to answer more questions about these. So now to get into actually the whole meat of what even is a homestay. So basically a homestay is you living with a local host family. So that means you live in their home, whether that be their apartment or condo or house. You will have your own private room. So once again, in terms of affordability, it actually might be more economical if you really want to have a private room to live in a homestay. And you also have meals included and laundry access and internet. So it's a really full package deal with all the different services. But again, just a reminder that it is with a local family. So the homestay option can really vary based on your country, location, the country's lifestyle, and so forth. And just in case you were curious, there are other housing options on most of our programs. Again, these can kind of vary by the program or availability, but the three general categories are homestay, then we have resident halls or dorms, and then shared apartments. So for these dorms and apartments, you're often living with other USAC students. In some cases, it might be with other international students, or like a dorm where there might be local students, things like that. But again, just keeping these in mind to figure out kind of what's a better fit for what you're looking for. So now we're going to go into the fun part about talking about all these amazing benefits and basically how homestay can, we hope, positively impact your experience. So these are just a few examples. There's so many more. We could go on and on. But first, the one you probably hear the most about is how much it can help you with your language acquisition. It's an awesome boost to your language courses. It's a great combination where you have not only the formal learning you can do in class on a USAC program, but you also have this informal, natural communication opportunities. It definitely helps with, building your confidence, feeling more comfortable when you have people who are, have your best interests at heart. They're happy to have you in their home and they're going to be very patient with you. It also is a great way to meet locals. So you can connect with a local family, make lifelong relationships, keep up with if they have a child, maybe you can check in with them over the years and see their child grow. It's a really unique opportunity to meet people. And including your homestay, you might, maybe if they had, neighbors over for dinner, or there's ways to kind of meet people through your homestay family. It's also a good way to live like a local, to really understand your host culture. So to know what the local lifestyle looks like. Most likely your homestay will have just the environment, the food they cook, all this will be different than maybe what you grew up with. So it's a great way to have a more authentic experience. And of course, number 4 is a fun one, but you really do get access to the most amazing, delicious, and authentic food made for you in your home. So sometimes moving to a new country can be a little overwhelming, and navigating a grocery store might not be something you want to do all of the time by yourself. So this is a way for, in some programs, they cover all your meals. Some programs, they cover your breakfasts and dinners. But either way, you have access to really cool local food. And that's how you can learn more about the local cuisine beyond just kind of what you might see for that particular country's food in the US. And then a big one that I don't think people think about enough is just how much your host family can be a support. Of course, with our USAC programs, you have USAC central office staff in the US, as well as abroad, our resident directors who, for our specialty programs, live near the program, and on-site staff and the international office. There's all kinds of people who are in your corner that are there for you. But your host family can be another more personal connection where they can be ones to give you recommendations of where to go out for dinner. Maybe they'll take you out for dinner. It's just a really nice way to get supported. Maybe trying to figure out how to use a laundry machine in a language you don't speak is a little bit hard. So that's what they can do. So it gives you a lot of different support that you might not be expecting. And again, in terms of cost, you might find it cheaper to be fed by your host family with that fee, with the homestay fee, than trying to cook your own meals or go to cafeterias. Of course, it always varies on where you live in the world, but it could be a really good option for students who prioritize these benefits. Another note I wanted to share too about USAC specifically. So we work really, really hard to make sure we ensure that all students have a safe and rewarding homestay. So we do vet our homestay families very stringently, so to make sure they meet all of our required criteria. So we do interview families. Another component of that is also listening to student feedback. So we ask our students to give evaluations. So we're in a constant process of reevaluating our homestay families. And so in order to keep a homestay family going, that retention process, we do listen to student feedback very seriously. As well, on the other hand, when it comes to for you, We do have housing questionnaires to try to match you with a suitable family. We really want you to be as specific as possible. So for example, if you are, would you like to be in a home with small children that might be a little bit loud here and there? Or are you allergic to dogs, so you cannot be in a household with dogs? Or, we try to match some of those lifestyle things. So please just be as upfront and honest about your lifestyle, what you're looking for, and we can work with you to try to match. And of course, we never want to have any bad situations, but if for whatever reason you feel not like it's the best fit, we can definitely help you with certain options or whatever it might be. But we really work really hard, and most of our homestay families have been with us for a very long time, and they've worked with international students. So just wanted to remind you that a lot does go into that process to make sure it's a comfortable and safe and kind of rewarding experience for you and the homestay family. So now I'm going to switch over a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Carlitos to talk about homestay in Costa Rica.
Hello, welcome to Costa Rica. I'm going to talk about homestay in Heredia and San Ramon. Remember, in Costa Rica, we have two different programs. We offer the option for the students to live with the host family and also to rent an apartment. However, 99.9% of the students, they always get to choose and they stay with host families. Why? Because Caroline already talked about so many beautiful benefits. And one of them, of course, like Caroline was saying, is very nice for the students because they stay with the family, they get 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, they get all the services, and the family really take care of the student. Caroline, can you pass?
Sure, I can go next slide.
See, we have like 3 different quotes for the students, so I think they're gonna show the main aspects or the benefits of living with the host family. One is from Dakota, from this semester, so the University of Cincinnati. Dakota is in track 1, at the beginning he was so afraid of everything. He didn't speak that much Spanish, and living with the family, like you arrive to the airport, you don't know what they're gonna do, how do they look like, etc. But when I talk to Dakota, you see, he's having a really beautiful experience in Costa Rica in general, but especially with his host family. His host family is wonderful. They really accept them so much, and they're taking him to so many beautiful parts of the country. A couple of weeks ago, he just went to this beautiful adventure with the host family. They went to the north side of Costa Rica. They were driving, passing these places. They went camping, hiking, etc. Of course, each family is different, but for sure they're gonna take care of our students. Next, please. You see, the next one is from Dinah from last semester, fall semester. Of course, Dinah said like he learned most of her Spanish eating breakfast with the host family, which is a nice way to say it, but of course you need to go to class, you need to attend classes, like be a good student. You're here to learn a language, to take college courses, to get a good grades and improve your GPA, but also to have fun, to spend time with your family. So I think Dana put this in a very nice, fun way. What do you think about that, Caroline, since you study abroad too?
Yeah, I would say it's like formal class time kind of complements the informal time with like your homestay, because there's so many phrases and accent and speaking and listening you pick up with your homestay. But when it comes to like learning fundamental grammar or bigger structures, that's something that's really helpful to have someone actually teach you, because sometimes when someone speaks their language, they don't know how to describe grammar properly. So I think it's great. My Japanese went improved so much by my homestay in terms of speaking and listening, but I still really need the class time to be able to read and write comfortably.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Can we pass to the next slide, please? See, the next one from Rachel, last semester too. I think this is gonna say in few words that the host families, besides taking care of you, they really treat you like one more member of the family. They really see you as a daughter or a new son that is going to be living in the house for one semester or even just for a month where the students come here for during the summer. Our host families in Costa Rica in general, not only in Heredia, they have been doing this for many, many years. So they have a lot of experience. Of course, we don't want the students to get sick, but if that's the case, and they need to go to a clinic, to a hospital to see a doctor, of course, we are here to help you at the office. But the host family, the host family is always there. The students spend a lot of time with the host family, and then part of the time in the country and study abroad, they go to class, they go to the office. But host families is a very important component of the study abroad experience, I believe. And now I want you to watch a video from two of our students. Both of them, they're like year-long students. So can you click play, please?
Hi, my name is Mary, and I study at Coady College in the United States, and now I'm here in Heredia, Costa Rica at UNA.
My name is Sydney, and I also study at Coady College, and now we've both been here for the past 6 months.
I would say having a host family is one of the most valuable experiences here. I think a lot of students would say that it helps them with their Spanish, and that's completely true, but I think especially having been here for two semesters now, it's so much deeper than that. I have such a genuine connection with my host family, especially my host mom, and I feel so comfortable around her and so comfortable in our house with our dogs, and every day I can look out my window in the garden and I just feel so at peace here, and so happy to be able to have this experience with my host family.
I 100% agree. My host mom has been so loving. I've cried in front of her. She's always been there to give me hugs. I've played guitar in front of my host family, and I've sang songs, and once they found out I could play guitar, they would keep requesting things, and we would play it at family events. I play video games with my host brothers, and they remind me so much of my real brothers back at home. So it truly is like a second family, and they will be there for you.
Yeah,
So.
I know whenever I come back to Costa Rica that I will be able to stay with them. That's how close I am, and I know it's the same for you.
It's exactly the same. Yeah.
I think this is a very nice video and explain pretty much the whole experience that those two students are having this semester here in Heredia, Costa Rica. We have another quick video for you that I want you to watch.
Hola, welcome to my house. And this way to my room. This is my room. I have my desk where I do all my schoolwork. This is where I sleep, and yeah. So now that I've showed you my room, I can take you around to other parts of my house and give you a little bit of a house tour. And then afterwards, we can meet my Tika family. And here is my Tika family. It's mi familia Tika, Jera y Raul. This is a painting I did for my family before I arrived in Costa Rica, and I wanted to give it to them because it reminds me of home, and I can give them a piece of Texas to live in their house.
When I came to Costa Rica, I was not worried as a vegan because I knew that I would have easy access to Latin American staples such as beans, rice, fruit, vegetables, and tortillas. My host family was also incredibly accommodating and have even veganized recipes for me, which has been so amazing. I was slightly worried about how life abroad would be during the pandemic and was prepared to live with social and travel restrictions. but I was pleasantly surprised to find that my host family was so excited to have me and welcome me into their home with open arms. One of my favorite parts is that everyone wears masks in public here and everyone's very COVID safe, but I'm also still able to go get drinks and dinner with my friends and travel easily within Costa Rica.
I hope you like the two videos. I think estas chicas, they did a wonderful job. Avery, she's from last semester, so she had a beautiful, beautiful experience with her host family. In the beginning, we were so worried about the whole COVID-19, but we ended up doing like everything all right, and they have a really wonderful experience. And the other two girls that you watched in the video, they're living with their families for last semester, and they're gonna be here until May. And I think it's beautiful, you know, it makes me very happy. Like the students are having a really, really good time in Costa Rica, living with a Tico family. Now we're gonna move from Heredia, Costa Rica to Japan to talk more about homestay with Carmen.
Yeah, I want to ask you one question, Carlitos. Like in Costa Rica, how do homestay families treat their students? Like, do they give them a lot of freedom? Do they treat them like family or visitors?
No, definitely they treat you like family. Of course, they give you a lot of freedom. I mean, all the students, we consider the students adults, and they know what is good and what is wrong. Of course, during the orientation, we talk about some specific rules that they need to follow with the host families. But no, in general, they're gonna treat you like one more member of the family. Of course, and you need to, I mean, respect is the key, you know, respect and communication. But later we're gonna talk more about tips. But later we can talk more about that, Caroline, if you want.
Right. That sounds good. Yeah, we definitely want to give some general like advice and tips to hopefully have a better experience with your homestay. So yeah, I guess I'll take over to a little bit to talk about myself. So I studied abroad with the USAC in Nishinomiya, Japan from 2015 to 2016. So the academic year-long option. So not only do I work for USAC, but I'm actually a USAC student alum as well. So I just include this map because Nishinomiya is not quite as well known. It's still in, I believe, the top 10 largest cities in Japan. Way bigger than a lot of American cities are, but it's located close to Osaka, which is the third largest city in Japan. Some people say second largest. And it's known for the food capital of Japan, in terms of it has like lots of good street food and Japanese food, whereas, you know, of course, Tokyo has amazing food, but more international options. I think Osaka has some Korean food as well. But it's known, this particular region Nishinomiya is in Osaka, is known for having the most friendly people in Japan. And though we want to be careful with stereotypes, I did actually find people to be a lot more friendly and more willing to chat with me. So in terms of my homestay, I have some pictures to share. So the picture on the left is my very first day when my homestay picked me up, drove me to their home, showed me the walking path I would need to take to get to school by myself. But they had a wonderful little welcome for me. The sign on the right is actually for my Taiwanese host brother. So they had a very large home. So we had separate private rooms, but it was a really cool experience to have not only my Japanese host family, but also an international student in my home as well. And he spoke English. So when I first arrived in my homestay, I could barely speak Japanese. I stumbled to even make a sentence, whereas my Taiwanese host brother was fluent in English, Chinese, and Japanese. So while I didn't really use Japanese majority of the time, every now and then I had him around for help. But in these pictures, you'll see primarily my Japanese host family. They took me out for a celebratory dinner at Kaiten Sushi, which is the conveyor belt sushi. So you can see by the plate, each plate represents 2 pieces of sushi. So we ate a lot and it was really awesome. But I just wanted to share for this first few weeks of homestay, it was pretty overwhelming being in a brand new country, new language, new school, new everything. But my homestay was very much like a solid place. I felt at home. They helped me do my laundry. They helped me figure out how to, you know, as silly as it sounds, turn on the shower or the bath because things operate a little differently in Japan. So I really felt like they helped me through that difficult initial shock of being in a new country. And they helped me so much with my language. They were so patient. They had had many international students before me. So they were able to, help explain things in a simple way and like kind of guide me through those first few weeks. Another fun little picture. This is another little party they threw for the festival that they have there's a certain time of year where they say there's a rabbit on the moon. So we would do moon viewing and you could see the rabbit. And so these were just some celebratory foods. I have mochi in my hands. My host sister had made like a sushi, almost like a sushi cake, something I had never seen in the US. So again, access to so much more authentic food, and it was fantastic. I loved it. Dinner every night was like a whole occasion. I really enjoyed it. And I loved how my homestay helped me connect with other people in their neighborhood. So in the photo on the right is me. My Taiwanese host brother is on the left. He was a kendama champion, if you know what that is. But on the right is one of their friends who are a couple that were one of their neighbors. And so that's what I think is so special with Homestay is they like can introduce you to neighbors. They took me to their little daughter's sports festival, like intimate moments that you would otherwise never have access to as a foreign visitor. And then my last little round of photos. So here on the left, my host mother dressed me in traditional kimono. This was actually one of her kimono. It took about an hour and a half. It was very intensive. Kimono are very difficult to get into. But what was so funny of the timing is I had turned 20 that year. And in Japan, 20 is like becoming 18. But there's a celebration that happens in January for anyone who turned 20 in that year. There's like this whole kind of life not graduation ceremony, but a ceremony of becoming an adult. And I actually got invited by my local city to go. So she helped me dress up. And just a quick note as well, in Japan, kimono, foreigners are invited and encouraged to wear a kimono. It's a type of clothing that is traditional. It's less common to see nowadays because of how difficult it is to wear, but it is open to foreigners and there's places you can go to pay to wear kimono. But I would say having a homestay and a host mom help you and do it yourself was just such a sweet, wonderful experience. And then getting to participate in this citywide ceremony with hundreds of 20-year-olds was just like something I'll never really forget. And then my photo on the right is just to kind of show you a sense of what my area looked like. Really beautiful part of Japan, pretty big city, but not too big, if that makes sense. But before I go into tips and advice, I think one comment I wanted to say for the Japan homestay experience is just noting how different cultural expectations might be. So for me, in my personal experience, my homestay treated me like family. There were certainly like rules and expectations, but I was surprised to find that in many cases, my peers that were in dorms, a lot of Japanese dorms have very strict rules. They have curfews, which are reasonable, of course, but other rules, like if you wanted to study with a friend who wasn't the same sex or gender as you, they wouldn't allow another student into your dorm. So of course, your experience will always be different, but I actually found me, as well as my friends who were in homestays, had a more freedom and had kind of a different, experience than you might have had in a dorm. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. But the more you can understand your host culture and how they will treat you, some parts of the world you're treated more like a guest, some parts of the world you're treated like a family member. So definitely do your research and learn more about it. But if you have any inclination, I definitely recommend it. So now we're going to switch into more tips and advice. So like, how can you make the most out of your experience? So I'm going to let Carlitos go first to give us a good kind of overview to think about.
Thank you. Yes, what we tell the students is that 3 different things. Number 1, respect. You need to respect each other, not only the students to the host families, but vice versa. I always tell the students at the beginning during the orientation, you are here in a different culture. The culture is not going to change just for you. So it's easier if you just adjust to the way that we do things in Costa Rica or in a different place. Wherever you go and study abroad, if you're a guest, if I go to the US, if I go to Europe, I'm not gonna change things. So one thing, like, stop comparing things how you do it in your home country. At the beginning can be very frustrating, but once you adjust, it will be easy, it will be better. And that's the second part, patient. The students have to be very patient, like that. See, like something very simple like the hot water system, like you go to the US and you're so used to open the faucet and you get a lot of pressure, hot, nice water, When you go to Costa Rica or anywhere in Latin America, it's not like that, Our heating system is different. So when we watch a video about Homestay with the students, it's very funny. I asked them, hey guys, how was your first night with your host families? Oh, it was lovely. How was your first shower? And they're like, oh my gosh, they start laughing, I start like talking about that. And that's a very nice way to start talking about differences, Of course, a different country, of course, a different culture. That's why you need to respect things in Costa Rica and a different way that we do it in the US, wherever you're coming from. So respect and patience, okay? And last one, but I think is the most important one, communication. A good communication can fix so many things, I see the students, some, not all of them, just few of them, the whole culture shock, that you go like, oh, I can't wait to go home, like they start talking about this, food, etc., etc., etc. They come to the office, we talk to them and say, hey guys, first of all, go and talk to the family. Oh, they don't speak good English, no problem. Just go and try to talk to the whole family. And I think it's the best thing to do. I'm pretty sure that happens to you, Caroline, when you went to Japan. You didn't speak very good Japanese at the very beginning, so you wanted to say so many things, but you need to find a way to do it. So try to communicate, try to be very open, try to be very flexible. I think those are very good tips, very good advices. Do you have any issues, Caroline, at the very beginning when you arrived to Japan with your host family? Something nice or funny or strange?
Yeah, I had some small ones. So Japanese is a very contextual language, and the culture is to read the room, and they won't say certain things. It's expected that you understand. So what I didn't understand is that basically Japanese people won't tell you no directly. They'll talk around it. So if I ask, can I do X? They'd be like, oh, well, maybe this would be less convenient, or wouldn't you prefer doing this, or da 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 da. So it took me a little bit to understand when I would ask questions that they wouldn't say a complete yes or a complete no. Another kind of silly example is it's very much a part of the culture to bathe every single night. And so what I had to learn is a little bit of how it works in terms of there's a shared bath water, which I know some people will say, oh, that's so gross, but you completely shower, completely clean yourself. You don't let your hair touch the water, but there is kind of a respect thing where the older members of the family go first. So I had to learn and understand when was it my turn, so I wasn't cutting people off. So it was just a small adjustment, and I definitely worked through it, but just having an open mind. And if you do have a language barrier, there's so many ways to communicate that you may not know. Like, I think until you learn a different language, you don't understand how many other ways you can communicate. But another quick piece of advice is just talk to USAC or talk to your international office, and they can give you advice of like, oh, probably what your homestay means is this, or, oh, it's very common in Japan that they do this. So if you do get stuck or confused, just talk to a friend, talk to USAC, talk to your international staff like Carlitos. You're not the first international student they've helped through some of these kind of confusing points.
No, of course not. We get the students all the time. We have like 27 years now in Heredia. So a lot of students, a lot of experiences, most of them very nice, very funny ones. Some things are very easy to fix. We just talk, communicate. Thank you, Carla.
Yeah, and I have 2 more slides of advice to throw at you. So the first one, I think, as kind of like a general framework, is just to set really healthy and realistic expectations. So you have to understand, what do I want to get out of my city abroad experience? What do I want to, like, what skills do I want to develop? What people do I want to meet? In some cases, you might actually prefer to live in a dorm, or you might prefer to live in an apartment with a couple other international students, and that's the experience you want. So just give yourself that time to kind of think through, because homestay is definitely a better fit for students who are more adaptable, who are really open to trying a new lifestyle. They're interested in their host language and culture. But there's no problem if you would prefer a dorm or apartment style living instead too. So just think about it.
Yeah.
Another tip is just to try to be open-minded and flexible. Like I said about being adaptable, is every culture is so different. There's so many different ways of living and doing things. Shower time can be different, like we talked about with water, or in my case with the shared bath. So you're just trying to be open and to not shut down if things are different than what you're used to. It's kind of like how maybe if you grew up, if you ever had a sleepover, you notice your friends' parents do things different than your parents or family members. So just, being open to that can be really helpful. And in terms of expectations, Carlitos, I was wondering, when students live in a homestay in Costa Rica, can they bring people over? Can their family visit them? How does that work?
Yes and no. They can bring people over to study, maybe to go for a cup of coffee. Well, of course, they need to ask the family first, Something not allowed, like, say like in Japan, people are not allowed to spend the night. No even classmate, boyfriend, girlfriend, real mom, real father coming to visit them. No, that's one of the rules, we have something very silly but very important in Costa Rica. See, when you use the toilet, you don't put the toilet paper inside the toilet. You don't flush toilet paper. You have to use that little basket that we have in there. And for the students, it's so weird, frustrating, gross at the very beginning, but that's how it is. The drainage system is different here. And believe me, it happens with the students. Sometimes they don't follow the rules, and boom, hole collapse in the bathroom. And that's so embarrassing for the students or for the family, But yes, Caroline, like any other culture, like any other country, there are some rules that we need to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And just to that point, I've traveled in countries where you throw away the toilet paper, and I promise you, it's not as gross as it sounds. It's very easy to adjust to if you're just willing to try. So yeah, it's a good example. And that's where, Carlitos said, like, try not to compare your host family or your host country to where you come from or your family, because there are going to be a lot of differences. So, in some parts of the world, AC is not as common or not as strong. So you would like open a window to help dehumidify your home, or maybe your commute would be different. Maybe you're used to driving to school, but with your homestay, you might have to ride a train or catch a bus or even bike to school. And if you're ever concerned about your commute situation, like, just ask us and we can tell you which locations are closer, if a dorm's a better fit. But it's just, comparison is a thief of joy. So if you spend your whole time comparing how this is different, versus focusing on, oh, well, this is really neat, or I never thought to do it this way, or I love coffee made by drip versus using that coffee machine at home. So there's a lot of positives to this too. It's just kind of definitely that attitude. And then for my last slide to throw at you, just like Carlitos talked about, communication is everything. And there's so many different types of communication styles. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it, your body language, your facial expressions, and noting that every culture and language has different cues and expectations. So I gave the example is that in Japan, they almost never directly say no, but they have other ways of saying no. And I just had to learn how they say no that's different than in the US. So just being mindful. There's no one correct way to communicate. It's just whatever way works. And in most cases, you're going to have to adapt to the local style. You don't have to change yourself, but you have to be willing to do things the local way in most cases. And one of my favorite points is every time I bring up homestay, students are scared. Well, I don't know Spanish or I don't know Japanese very well. But you really don't need to be fluent. You just need to be willing to try. And I think that attitude will get you so far. You can come to a country with no language. And as long as you're willing to try, you're willing to smile, do what you can. I think you'll still have a great experience. So please don't be scared off if you don't feel confident in your language. And like I mentioned before, with USAC, we offer a lot of different support. So if you want even like mediation, maybe you're confused what your host family is telling you, or you don't understand something, we're always here to kind of give you that support, to explain things, to work with you. And again, the last piece of advice I have is just to have fun and relax. This is meant to be enjoyable, so don't take it so super seriously. Any last piece of advice, Carlitos?
Oh, I think everything has been very clear. I like the last one. I always say, like, students, chill, relax, have fun. Everything is gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be pura vida. We say pura vida here for everything. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can be a really fun experience too. So the last little bit of slides we have for you, I'm going to talk through really quick, is just some resources. If you are interested in Homestay, what can you do while you're on Homestay? So for USAC, we do have a lot of advising and support throughout. So before you go, when you're in your country, and when you come back. So we have people called enrollment specialists. They help you through the application process and any kind of transcript questions you might have. Probably the person you'll work with the most, and you're always welcome to just start with this person, is your program advisor. So they're experts on their country. They know your programs very well. They give you orientation. They email you updates. They help you with your visa. You can talk through different types of housing options with them if you want to learn more about, well, what is homestay like in this country, since we just talked mostly about Costa Rica and Japan today. And we also have a virtual advising hub. So there's all kinds of like recordings, but this is where you can make an appointment today if you want to talk with someone at USAC about, well, I really want to learn more about the Japanese homestays, or I don't know where I want to go in the world, but I just want to do a homestay. Definitely make an appointment. We're happy to talk to you. Another really important component of support is our health and safety team. So they're there for, they have a 24/7 line. They help with insurance questions, medication, all sorts of things. So just knowing that's a resource you can use. As well, I think maybe the biggest, most relevant resource for homestay, and if you choose to do a homestay, is either your resident directors or any kind of on-site staff, because again, they're also experts in their own country. They know the local language, they understand the local culture, and they've worked with so many other USAC students, so they can understand maybe common areas of maybe some touch points or things like that. So please know that there are people both remote and in person accessible to you. And just to highlight, pretty much everything, including our blog, our socials, are all linked on our website. So feel free to start there. It's a really good resource to go to for all sorts of things. And then my second to last little slide here on the resources is you can hear directly from students. So this is a screenshot from an article about a student wrote about their homestay experience. There's more articles in our blog from students. You can also check out our socials. We have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have a podcast now. So most of the handles are at Study Abroad USAC. I also highly recommend our YouTube channel. You can see day in the lives. You can see videos like the one we shared. So if you want to have a visual of what could homestay actually look like, YouTube is great, as well as our blog. And then a last point is just noting that we are happy to connect you with USAC student alumni. So if you're ever curious to hear directly from students, you want to ask them, all the questions, please reach out to us and our program advisors, and we can connect you with other alumni. And so just in general, in terms of getting started with USAC, if you haven't gotten started already, you can go to our website. You can search for programs either by what you want to study, such as like kinesiology or let's say environmental science. You can search by location, as well as what term you want to go and what program model. And that's where you can explore the classes you can take. What are the housing options? Is there homestay? Is it a dorm, etc.? But please feel free to always email us at any point. If you're ever confused about who to talk to or where to start, you can just email studyabroad@usac.edu or meet with one of our advisors or just go to our website. All that good info is in there. But I highly encourage you to put in an application or talk to us if you're curious. And this is a little bit of a topic change, but before we end on the presentation side, I wanted to share for USAC Week. Again, thank you for coming. We have a passport contest for students. So throughout the week, Thursday and tomorrow included, we're going to be posting questions on our webpage. So your job is to find those answers by coming to presentations like ours, going through our website, maybe reading some of our digital resources, and based on points you get from correct answers, from social media sharing and applications, you can get higher chances to win some of our awesome prizes, including travel vouchers towards summer 2022 study abroad, as well as lots of people win USAC swag bags. So this can be found on our website. I'm happy to drop in a link in the chat here in a second, but for any students, please give it a shot. You never know, it'd be really great to win that flight voucher. So this is the end of our majority talking portion. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and if there's any questions, I'm happy, Carlitos and I are happy to stay on and answer those.